The history of the European Union. The European Union, EU, stands as one of the most ambitious political and economic projects in modern history. It represents a unique model of regional integration, aiming to unite a continent that for much of its history was marked by deep-seated rivalries, devastating wars, and economic fragmentation. With its origins rooted in the aftermath of World War II, the EU has grown from a small economic community into a powerful supranational entity with 27 member states, over 447 million citizens, and a single market that stretches across much of Europe. Yet, the EU is more than just a collection of countries. It is a complex and evolving institution, grappling with challenges both within its borders and beyond. This article explores the EU's historical evolution, its institutional framework, its achievements, and the challenges that continue to shape its future. The European Union's origins are deeply intertwined with the desire to prevent the horrors of war that had ravaged Europe twice in the first half of the 20th century. The devastation of World War II left European leaders searching for ways to ensure lasting peace and stability. The idea was to make war between Europe's great powers not just undesirable, but impossible by intertwining their economies and creating common interests. In 1951, 6 countries, Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, took the first significant step towards European integration by establishing the European Coal and Steel Community, ECSC. The ECSC was designed to pool coal and steel production, the key industries necessary for military power, under a common high authority. The success of the ECSC paved the way for further integration. Building on the success of the ECSC, the 6 founding members signed the Treaty of Rome in 1957, establishing the European Economic Community, EEC, and the European Atomic Energy Community, Euratom. The EEC aimed to create a common market, eliminating trade barriers and allowing for the free movement of goods, services, capital, and people. It was a bold vision that sought to integrate Europe not just economically, but also socially and politically. The creation of the EEC marked the beginning of a new era in European history. Over the next decades, the community expanded its membership, with the United Kingdom, Denmark, and Ireland joining in 1973, followed by Greece in 1981, and Spain and Portugal in 1986. This period also saw the development of key institutions that would later become central to the EU, including the European Commission, the European Parliament, and the European Court of Justice. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the subsequent reunification of Germany marked a turning point in European history. The end of the Cold War opened the door for further integration, culminating in the signing of the Maastricht Treaty in 1992. The treaty, formerly known as the Treaty on European Union, established the European Union and introduced the concept of European citizenship. It also set the stage for the creation of the Economic and Monetary Union, EMU, which would eventually lead to the introduction of the euro. The Maastricht Treaty was a significant step towards deeper integration, but it was also a controversial one. It required member states to cede more sovereignty to the EU, particularly in areas such as monetary policy, foreign policy, and justice and home affairs. The treaty was met with skepticism and resistance in several member states, leading to heated debates and, in some cases, referendums. The EU continued to expand throughout the 1990s and 2000s, welcoming new members from Central and Eastern Europe after the collapse of the Soviet Union. The enlargement process was seen as a way to stabilize the region, promote democracy, and extend the benefits of the single market to more countries. In 2004, the EU underwent its largest single expansion, admitting 10 new members, including Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic. Bulgaria and Romania followed in 2007, and Croatia became the 28th member in 2013. Each round of enlargement brought new challenges and opportunities. The integration of countries with diverse economic structures, political systems, and levels of development required significant efforts to harmonize laws, regulations, and standards. It also raised questions about the EU's capacity to absorb new members and the implications for decision-making within the Union. The EU's institutional framework is a complex and multifaceted system designed to balance the interests of its member states while promoting common European objectives. The EU's governance structure is often described as a multi-level system, with authority distributed across various levels of government, from the local to the supranational. The European Commission, headquartered in Brussels, is often referred to as the engine of European integration. As the EU's executive branch, the Commission is responsible for proposing legislation, implementing decisions, and managing the day-to-day affairs of the Union. It is composed of one commissioner from each member state, including the President of the Commission, who is nominated by the European Council and approved by the European Parliament. The Commission plays a central role in the EU's legislative process. While the European Parliament and the Council of the European Union, often simply referred to as the Council, are responsible for passing laws, the Commission has the exclusive right to propose new legislation. This gives the Commission significant influence over the direction of EU policy. The European Parliament is the EU's directly elected legislative body, representing the citizens of the Union. It is composed of 705 members of the European Parliament, MEPs, who are elected every 5 years by voters in all member states. The Parliament's powers have expanded significantly over the years, particularly with the adoption of the Lisbon Treaty in 2009, which gave it co-decision power in most areas of EU legislation. The Parliament's role includes debating and passing European laws, approving the EU budget, and scrutinizing the work of the Commission. The Parliament also has the power to approve or reject the appointment of the Commission President and the College of Commissioners, making it a key player in the EU's institutional framework. The Council of the European Union, also known as the Council of Ministers, represents the governments of the member states. It is composed of ministers from each member state who meet in different configurations depending on the policy area under discussion, for example, agriculture, finance, foreign affairs. The Council works in tandem with the European Parliament to adopt legislation and coordinate policies. The Council's decision-making process is based on a system of qualified majority voting, QMV, for most issues, although unanimity is required for certain sensitive areas such as taxation and foreign policy. QMV means that decisions require a certain threshold of votes, representing both a majority of member states and a majority of the EU's population. This system is designed to ensure that decisions reflect the interests of both large and small member states. The European Council is the body that sets the EU's overall strategic direction and priorities. It is composed of the heads of state or government of the member states, the President of the European Council, and the President of the European Commission. The European Council meets at least 4 times a year, with additional meetings convened as necessary to address pressing issues. The European Council does not have legislative power, but its decisions often have significant political implications. It plays a crucial role in crisis management, treaty negotiations, and the appointment of key EU officials. The President of the European Council, who is elected by the Council for a 2.5-year term, acts as a facilitator and representative of the EU at the highest level. The European Court of Justice, ECJ, based in Luxembourg, is the EU's highest judicial authority. It is responsible for interpreting EU law and ensuring its uniform application across all member states. The ECJ has the power to rule on cases brought by member states, EU institutions, and individuals or companies who believe their rights under EU law have been violated. The ECJ's rulings have far-reaching implications, as they can override national laws that conflict with EU law. This principle of the primacy of EU law is a cornerstone of European integration, ensuring that EU policies are implemented consistently across the Union. The European Union has made significant achievements in various fields, from economic integration and environmental protection to human rights and peace-building. These accomplishments have not only transformed Europe, but have also served as a model for regional cooperation in other parts of the world. One of the EU's most significant achievements is the creation of the single market, which allows for the free movement of goods, services, capital, and people across member states. The single market has helped to increase trade, boost economic growth, and create jobs. It has also provided consumers with greater choice and lower prices. The introduction of the euro in 1999 as the single currency for most EU countries was another milestone in European integration. The Eurozone, which now includes 20 member states, has facilitated trade, investment, and travel by eliminating exchange rate fluctuations and reducing transaction costs. However, the euro has also posed challenges, particularly during the Eurozone crisis that began in 2009, when several member states faced severe financial difficulties. The EU has been at the forefront of global efforts to address climate change and protect the environment. The Union has implemented ambitious policies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, increase the use of renewable energy, and promote energy efficiency. The European Green Deal, launched in 2019, aims to make Europe the first climate-neutral continent by 2050. This comprehensive plan includes measures to decarbonize key sectors of the economy, such as energy, transport, and agriculture, as well as initiatives to promote biodiversity and circular economy practices. The EU's leadership on environmental issues has had a significant impact on global climate policy. The Union played a key role in the negotiation of the Paris Agreement in 2015, and it continues to push for stronger international commitments to reduce carbon emissions and limit global warming. The EU has long been a champion of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. These values are enshrined in the EU's founding treaties and are a prerequisite for membership. The Union has established a comprehensive legal framework to protect fundamental rights, including the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union, which became legally binding with the Lisbon Treaty in 2009. The EU also promotes human rights and democracy beyond its borders through its foreign policy and development aid programs. The Union supports civil society organizations, electoral processes, and human rights defenders in countries around the world. It also uses trade agreements and diplomatic efforts to encourage respect for human rights in its partner countries. Perhaps the EU's most significant achievement is its role in promoting peace and stability in Europe. The Union's success in integrating former adversaries and fostering cooperation has earned it the Nobel Peace Prize in 2012. The EU's enlargement process has also contributed to the peaceful transition of former communist countries to democracies and market economies. The EU's commitment to peace extends beyond its borders. The Union is a major contributor to international peacekeeping and crisis management operations, often in partnership with the United Nations and other regional organizations. The EU's Common Security and Defence Policy, CSCP, enables member states to work together on military and civilian missions to promote peace, prevent conflicts, and strengthen international security. Despite its many achievements, the EU faces significant challenges that test its cohesion, resilience, and future direction. These challenges are diverse and complex, ranging from internal divisions and economic disparities to external threats and global uncertainties. The United Kingdom's decision to leave the EU, commonly known as Brexit, was a major blow to the Union. The UK had been a member of the EU since 1973 and was one of its largest economies and most influential members. Brexit, which took effect on January 31, 2020, marked the first time a member state had left the Union, raising questions about the future of European integration. The Brexit negotiations were long and contentious, highlighting the difficulties of disentangling the UK from the EU's complex legal and regulatory framework. The final agreement, reached in December 2020, included provisions on trade, security, and citizens' rights, but it left many issues unresolved, particularly concerning Northern Ireland and the UK's future relationship with the EU. Brexit has had significant political, economic, and social implications for both the UK and the EU. It has led to disruptions in trade, changes in migration patterns, and shifts in diplomatic relationships. It has also fueled debates within the EU about the need for reform and the risk of further disintegration. The Eurozone crisis of the late 2000s and early 2010s exposed deep economic disparities within the EU and raised questions about the sustainability of the euro. The crisis was triggered by high levels of public debt in several member states, particularly Greece, Ireland, Portugal, Spain, and Cyprus. The EU and the International Monetary Fund, IMF, provided financial assistance to these countries in exchange for implementing austerity measures and structural reforms. The crisis highlighted the challenges of having a single currency without a fully integrated fiscal and economic policy. It also revealed the tensions between richer, northern European countries and poorer, southern European countries. The EU has since taken steps to strengthen the governance of the Eurozone, including the establishment of the European Stability Mechanism, ESM, and the adoption of stricter fiscal rules. However, economic disparities remain a significant challenge, particularly as the EU seeks to recover from the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The migration and refugee crisis that peaked in 2015 posed a major challenge to the EU's solidarity and its commitment to human rights. The arrival of more than 1 million refugees and migrants, mainly fleeing conflict in Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan, overwhelmed the asylum systems of several member states, particularly those on the EU's southern and eastern borders. The crisis exposed deep divisions within the EU over how to manage migration and share the responsibility for hosting refugees. While some member states, such as Germany and Sweden, took in large numbers of refugees, others, particularly in Central and Eastern Europe, resisted efforts to relocate asylum seekers across the Union. The EU has since implemented various measures to strengthen its external borders, improve the processing of asylum claims, and cooperate with countries of origin and transit to manage migration flows. However, the issue remains a contentious one, with ongoing debates about the balance between security, humanitarian responsibilities, and national sovereignty. The rise of populism and Euroscepticism in several member states poses a significant challenge to the EU's cohesion and its core values. Populist movements, often characterized by nationalist, anti-immigrant, and anti-EU rhetoric, have gained traction in countries such as Hungary, Poland, Italy, and France. These movements have capitalized on public discontent with economic inequalities, perceived threats to national identity, and dissatisfaction with EU policies. Euroscepticism, the belief that the EU is too powerful and undermines national sovereignty, has also grown in recent years. This sentiment was a driving force behind Brexit and continues to influence political debates in several member states. The challenge for the EU is to address the concerns of citizens who feel left behind by globalization and European integration while maintaining its commitment to democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. The EU faces a range of external challenges, including geopolitical tensions with Russia and China, the uncertainty of transatlantic relations with the United States, and the complexities of globalization. The EU's relationship with Russia has been strained by issues such as the annexation of Crimea, the conflict in Ukraine, and allegations of interference in European elections. The Union has imposed sanctions on Russia and has supported Ukraine's sovereignty, but it remains vulnerable to Russian energy dependency and cyber threats. China's growing influence in Europe, particularly through investments in infrastructure and technology, has also raised concerns about economic dependencies and the impact on European security and values. The EU has sought to balance its economic interests with China with the need to protect its strategic industries and address human rights issues. The election of Donald Trump in the United States in 2016 and his America First policies led to a period of uncertainty in transatlantic relations. Although the election of Joe Biden in 2020 marked a return to more traditional diplomacy, challenges remain, particularly in areas such as trade, defense, and climate change. Globalization, with its complex web of economic interdependencies and technological advances, presents both opportunities and challenges for the EU. The Union must navigate the pressures of global competition while protecting its social model, promoting sustainable development, and ensuring that its citizens benefit from the opportunities of the digital age. The European Union stands at a crossroads, facing both challenges and opportunities as it looks to the future. The COVID-19 pandemic, which struck Europe in 2020, has had profound economic and social impacts, prompting the EU to take unprecedented steps to support its member states and rebuild its economies. The EU's response to the pandemic, particularly the adoption of the €750 billion Next Generation EU Recovery Plan, has demonstrated the Union's capacity for solidarity and innovation. One of the key priorities for the EU is to strengthen its Economic and Monetary Union, EMU, to ensure the stability and resilience of the Eurozone. This includes completing the banking union, which aims to protect savers and taxpayers by reducing risks in the banking sector, and advancing the capital markets union, which seeks to deepen financial integration across the EU. The EU is also exploring ways to enhance fiscal coordination and create a central fiscal capacity to support member states in times of crisis. The question of how far and how fast to deepen European integration remains a contentious one. Some argue that the EU should move towards a political union, with closer coordination of foreign, security, and defense policies, as well as more integrated economic governance. Others caution against over-centralization, emphasizing the importance of national sovereignty and the principle of subsidiarity. The Conference on the Future of Europe, launched in 2021, has provided a forum for citizens, civil society, and policymakers to discuss the EU's future direction. The outcome of this process could influence the EU's approach to issues such as institutional reform, the balance of power between member states and EU institutions, and the role of the EU in the world. The EU must also address social inequalities and ensure that the benefits of integration are shared more equitably among its citizens. This includes tackling disparities between regions, supporting vulnerable groups, and promoting social inclusion. The European Pillar of Social Rights, adopted in 2017, sets out a framework for improving working conditions, access to social protection, and equal opportunities across the EU. The digital and green transitions present both challenges and opportunities for the EU's social model. The Union must ensure that these transitions are fair and inclusive, providing support for workers and communities affected by structural changes and investing in education, skills, and innovation. The EU has the potential to play a leading role in addressing global challenges, from climate change and digital governance to peace and security. To do so, the Union must enhance its strategic autonomy, reducing its dependence on external actors in key areas such as energy, technology, and defense. This requires strengthening its internal capabilities, building partnerships with like-minded countries, and playing a more assertive role in international organizations. The EU's commitment to multilateralism, human rights, and sustainable development positions it as a key player in the global arena. However, it must also navigate the complexities of an increasingly multipolar world where power is dispersed among a range of state and non-state actors. The European Union is a unique and evolving entity, born out of the desire to overcome the divisions of the past and build a peaceful, prosperous, and united Europe. Over the decades, the EU has achieved remarkable successes in areas such as economic integration, environmental protection, and human rights, while also facing significant challenges from Brexit and economic disparities to migration and geopolitical tensions. As the EU looks to the future, it must navigate a complex and rapidly changing global landscape, balancing the need for deeper integration with respect for diversity and national sovereignty. The Union's ability to adapt, innovate, and work together will be crucial in addressing the challenges of the 21st century and ensuring that the European project continues to thrive. The EU's journey is far from over, and its future will be shaped by the choices made by its leaders, its institutions, and its citizens. As Europe stands at this crossroads, the Union's core values of democracy, solidarity, and the rule of law will remain its guiding principles as it seeks to build a more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable Europe for generations to come. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Delving into the Deep for regular updates.